Hey, we are two Star Wars nerds, and we are continuing a really fun series we have right now. We're looking at individual characters in individual movies. But this has kind of been like your brainchild, so to speak. So why don't you share a little bit about it and then kick off who we're talking about and what movie today?
Yes, we are just sharing about the characters that we love and why we love them in a particular movie, and just looking at specifically like their character development, what we love about their character and who they are as people. And today we're looking at Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back, which is, I know a couple days ago we did one of my favorite movies. Now we're on one of your favorite movies. But Empire Strikes Back is such an important movie in the Star Wars saga, and in Luke's development, it's such an important part of the saga, and you see really this transition. It's really like a transitional season movie for him. You see how he really develops this love for his friends, and he's just really passionate about his friends and his friendship with his friends. And that's kind of, I see that resemblance even with Anakin and his passion with the people he loved and cared about. So Luke's a very passionate person as well. He's loving, and you see him really start to develop confidence slowly. You also still kind of see there's that doubt and that lack of self-confidence as well at points, but that moment when his friends are in trouble, like he throws everything else aside and he forgets his training, and he's like, I'm going to forget everything because my friends need me. And while it may have been better for him to stay and be trained, there's just something inside him that couldn't just let his friends suffer. And so he was like, I can do it. And we see that ego cost him his hand. So but it's also kind of that where I guess the Anakin would have been foreshadowing for Luke, but they both lost the same hand, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, you get to see these tiny similarities to his father, which is cool. You get to see him develop as his own person, and you get to see him just develop with the relationships that he has around him and the friendships that he has around him. So I think it's a really important movie for Luke. You see tragedy, you see those joyous moments, you see it all, and you see him develop in it and mature throughout this movie. And then by the end of it, he's almost like a new person, and we really see that in the next movie.
Yeah, and you alluded to it. This is my favorite movie of all time and my favorite Star Wars movie. Slowly over the years, it crept up to my favorite movie of all time. There was like one or two that were in the way, but nonetheless, it has made its way to the top. And Luke is a huge part of that. And the reason, if I take a sidestep to A New Hope for context, in A New Hope, you see Luke is afraid to make decisions, and he complains about how hard training is, and he's like, this is impossible, and his eyes are open to this huge world, and there's this excitement and adrenaline, and he's like, okay, let's do this, like I'm finally flying, I'm finally doing the stuff I want to do, and takes that step of faith, and trust the Force and all this cool stuff that happens in A New Hope. But then you get to Empire Strikes Back, and you're like, he is totally different. He just is. Even on Hoth, you see he's putting himself in harm's way, and he's out in these harsh environments, and really he's kind of being like this rogue renegade. He's out kind of doing his own thing. Everybody else is at Echo Base playing their part, and Han has to go out to find him. And that's what I find interesting. Like, okay, you're taking it to an extreme that I don't think you would have taken in A New Hope.
Right.
Like the events of A New Hope and past that, the in between, definitely marked you. And then even when he's like, hey, you know what, all of you guys are going here, I'm gonna go to Dagobah, and he just decides to go his own direction. You're seeing like obviously with Joseph Campbell's the hero's journey and all of this, you're seeing this descent into like what Joseph Campbell calls kind of like the beast or the belly of the beast. Like he's going into this darkness, this journey of mystery and of pain and of suffering, to really figure out who he is, and he has to conquer some things within himself before he can bring that victory back to others. And so then on Dagobah, you see that he interrupts that pattern.
Yep.
But then ironically, it plunges him deeper into it, because again, he reverts back to how he was in A New Hope. And he's saying like, oh, I can't do this. It's impossible, you know, and he's impatient, and he just wants things quickly.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the beauty of Luke too, is that we see ourselves in him.
You have to work for things.
Yeah. And,
yep.
But then like you brought up with this friendship, you know, he's like, all right, forget this. I've got to go. Even though like, Yoda and Obi-Wan are like, yo, don't go,
Don't
you know,
do it. You're not ready.
And but part of that is because the victory that he was supposed to bring had to have been completed on Dagobah first, but instead he rushes, again, very different than what we see in A New Hope. He rushes into conflict. He throws himself in the deep end.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating, even with when he's like trying to get Han Solo back. He's like, I don't know who this guy is. Basically all the actions here, and they're like, no, it's a trap, you know. He's like, screw that, and he like runs right into it. Right. And then he doesn't know who Boba is, and he's shooting at Boba and all this, and it's like, dang, this is crazy, you know. And then obviously the huge climax of the movie, you know, for me, seeing him fight his father and all this, and like, no, it's impossible, and essentially position himself like, I'll never join you, you know. And that for me just shows like, while his training was not complete, and that's why he ended up where he did, what I think is really fascinating for him is that he just solidified within himself, no, I will never become like you. And I don't know, for me, like why I love Luke's development and his character in Empire Strikes Back is that very thing. He's flawed, but he's flawed because he cares, and because he has this resolve that I don't think he had in A New Hope. He was fearful in A New Hope, but he took some steps, and then he's a totally different, confident person. And I feel like I could talk about Luke in Empire Strikes Back forever, but for me, I'll leave it there for me, because that's kind of scratching the top of the surface for me for why I love Luke so much, and why Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie and my favorite Star Wars movie at that. So I'll hand it over to you to see if you have anything else to say.
I think we covered what we were trying to cover pretty well.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is cool. And it, you know, if you guys didn't know, we have life and lore streams. We try to do them about once a month, and basically what we do is we take a character like this, and we do a deep dive as best as we can, around 2 hours, with some other people who are extremely passionate about these characters. And so if you like this kind of stuff, keep your eyes out for those life and lore streams, because there's a lot of cool stuff that we get to hit and talk about in those. But hey, with that, we are two Star Wars nerds, and may the Force be with you always.